things.
All right, this week on Doo-Wop Ramblings, what a very special guest I've got. One of my all-time favorite groups is those of you that read the newsletter and listen to the radio show know that my all-time favorite, Blue Eyes Soul Group, are the Magnificent Men. And today, I have none other than Dave Bupp, the lead vocalist for that group. Dave, welcome. And boy, I got to tell you what, it's really great to have you on the phone and in this interview, because we're going to really discuss some things about what I feel was one of the great soul groups of all time.
Well, Glen, thanks. It's good to be with you. I love your enthusiasm.
All right, let's go back to the beginning.
And the Endells from Harrisburg, and we started to do shows together and got to be friends, and then eventually we saw that we could make a lot more money, unfortunately, if we were all white and did R&B music. Or if you were all black and did R&B, you could get work. But a mixed group back then was hard to find jobs. So, it was a business decision to form the Magnificent Men with, the father of the group is Bob Angelucci, the drummer.
Right.
And me and him both had the same music image of what we wanted to play and what we wanted to sing. And we had to teach our sax player, Tom Payne, how to sing. He was just a sax player. But he learned very quickly harmony. And it's hard to find guys. You can find really good singers, but who can't sing harmony. And I come from a vocal group background. I mean, in high school, you say you're doing doo-wop, and I know a lot about that because I was, it was doo-wop that got me started, and the Dubs, and the Channels and groups like that, and then the Chicago, the Dells and the Spaniels and what have you, and that was the type of music that I really cut my teeth on, and I just wanted to be in a group. I didn't necessarily want to be the lead singer. I really wanted to be one of the guys in the background doing the steps, and the oohs and the ahs and the doo-wops. But unfortunately, every group I ever had, it turned out I was the only one who knew the lyrics to the songs. So that's really how I became a lead singer.
Where did the soul come from? I mean, the soul in you, the whole group really, but you were the leader up front, and then you projected, and it was incredible.
Well, first of all, I lived in a neighborhood that was only a block away from the black neighborhoods in York, Pennsylvania. So I would stroll around like an idiot, listening to the music they would be playing in their homes in the summer. And, I at that point, I was a Pat Boone fan, for God's sakes.
Weren't we all?
Intended. But, when I heard Little Richard do Tutti Frutti, I'm like, wait a minute. There's a lot more going on here than Pat Boone. So I graduated from that crooner style that as a youngster I sang. Frankie Lane was my first idol, for goodness sake. But, like I said, around 56, I started noticing this music, and then I was hearing on the radio in the still of the night, Come Go With Me, and I'm like, man, I want to be in a singing group. That would be really a lot of fun, I thought, because I was watching Dick Clark's Bandstand at that time, in the 50s, you had the Mellow Kings and all these groups that were on his show. And again, I'm looking at it going, that's what I want to do. I want to be in a singing group. And basically, that's how it got started for me.
What?
And then, of course, actually, I kind of stepped away from music in the early 60s. And what we did was decide, hey, let's put together just a little singing group, just to sing some doo-wop, and stuff like that. And the Del chords were born. And we were all white and a piano player. There's 4 singers and a piano player. And again, I wanted to be a background singer, and that was the Del chords. So we find out that the guys in the group, some of them knew how to play instruments. So we thought, well, let's convert you guys over to playing instruments, and I'll find more singers. Well, I eventually went and got some black guys. I mean, it wasn't the plan, but it kind of turned out that way. Because, as I said, finding people that know how to harmonize is it's hard to find people that can hold their note. And anyways, in the early 60s, when I walked away from doo-wop, I started listening to Curtis Mayfield stuff. Major Lance, Billy Bupp and the Chanters, and man, I just really fell in love with Chicago soul. Right? I mean, I really became a giant fan of Chicago soul. And it was really good because we had met Billy. Well, first of all, back in '62, we did a show with the Temptations. Now, mind you, they didn't do any of their recordings. They did like Twist and Shout and a Five Were Owls tune. And, we got together with them after the show, and they said, hey, why don't you guys anytime just come on out to Detroit, man. We'll show you a good time. Of course, telling us that was like, okay, let's get a date here. Actually, we drove to Detroit on a Sunday, and then knocking on the door at the Motown Studios, And I don't know to this day if it might have been Martha Reeves, but somebody like her was working at the front desk. And we said, we're looking for the Temptations. And she says, well, that bus is due here any time. So we're sitting and waiting, and then the bus comes in, and of course the Temps come out, and we're hugging and sitting, hey, let's go over to Melvin's house or something like that. And it was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Of course, nobody knew about them but us, we thought, because they didn't have any hit records, and they weren't. But we loved, like Isn't She Pretty, Check Yourself, and then they had I Want to Love I Can See, Farewell My Love, and Eddie kept saying, are we ever going to have a hit? Are we ever going to have a hit? Well, when they hit with The Way You Do the Things You Do, Billy Bupp and the Chanters were playing the show with them at the Uptown. So we drove down, banged on and the Temps came to the door and said, yeah, come on in. We said, we want to meet Billy Bupp and the Chanters. She says, come on, come on, Eddie. Me and Eddie were always pretty close. So he says, come on, we'll introduce you, and we shake their hands, and we start telling them how great they are, and Eddie goes, hey, do one of their songs. Well, we're standing there right outside Curtis Mayfield's dressing room, the Impressions, actually. And there we are singing, Found True Love, which he wrote, And I remember Errol Mann. Errol was the top tenor, beautiful tenor voice for the Chanters. And he's like, man, you guys sound more like us than us. But, we kind of followed that same type of music into the Magnificent Men. I mean, if you listen to our records, they're all pretty much in the Northern Soul vein.
No question. Yep.
And that's because of the inspiration of people like the Impressions, Billy Bupp and the Chanters. And, of course, when the Temps finally made it, it was like, oh, my goodness, we finally got one. So oddly enough, we were playing at Penn State with the Temps, us and the Temps, and Otis comes up and says, we've been knowing you guys a long time, haven't we? I said, we go way back to when none of us even had any hit records or anything. And, of course, Peace of Mind went to #1 in Detroit on the R&B stations. So when we first played them the record, they were like, oh, my goodness, I should have known it was you guys.
Wow.
Because they were like, that's your record? It's yeah, I know it's #1.
Did you write that?
Me and Buddy King.
Right. Talk about Buddy.
We pretty much, the early records, I had written because I'd always be goofing around on the piano. But once I hooked up with Buddy, I thought our writing got a little bit more mature, a little bit more something that you could hang your hat on and say, hey, this is cool.
Dave, talk about Buddy King. He did, I've heard a lot of people do Misty. He did the most incredible job on Misty that I've ever heard. What a voice in that guy. He could really hit that note.
Well, Buddy, when I hired Buddy in Delcords, he was a baritone. Believe it or not.
Wow.
And when we went on with the Bob Angelucci's group, the Andels, Buddy was just going to play trumpet, and I was going to be front man and sing. But being a vocal group guy, I said, this cannot go on. We've got to have harmony in the back. We got to do backgrounds. We just can't, be with me out there alone. Pretty much, I hate being out there by myself, but you can't help it sometimes. But Buddy, he said, well, I can sing falsetto. When he sang, I was like, you sound like an angel.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me about this?
Mm-hmm. Tell me about when you guys started getting played in the radio, you got discovered, Capitol Records signed you, and then you started touring and you did all the Chitlin circuits. You did the Uptown, you did the Apollo, you did all these theaters that back in the day, when there was a lot of racial tension going on during that time, you were playing all these black theaters. Tell me what that was like and what the response. It was amazing how you guys would do like the Uptown in Philly. You'd start behind the curtain, they'd open up the curtain, the crowd would just go silent, then all of a sudden go crazy because they couldn't believe that sound was coming out of 7 white guys.
I forget where we were. We were out on the road somewhere, and we got to call it the Uptown one. It is because Peace of Mind had hit #1 in Philly. And we're like, really? The Uptown? We had been there.
Really?
So many times backstage and out in the audience, but never on the stage. And, I'm just in disbelief that we're going to play the Uptown and also scared, Wow. Those audiences were always all black.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, God, I hope we don't disappoint them. And basically what had happened is what you said, we were ready to go, our first show. I guess it was maybe at 10 in the morning, they get a movie, then they did the floor show. And we didn't know what to expect. We really didn't. We believed in ourselves, but, we were what we were. And when the curtains opened, like you said, there was this silence, like in disbelief that we're white, because they're there because of Peace of Mind. And then, of course, once we start, well, the place goes crazy. And, the point came where we actually ended up recording a live album at the Uptown.
Great album, by the way.
Got around to the
great album
circuit. So, we were invited to play 3 times at the Apollo and one of the times headlining. And, and many shows at the Uptown, many shows, at the Howard in D.C. And, that kind of stuff is your 10 days with your idols. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I spent more time with the OJs than I did with my wife.
Hey, talk about
every time the Vibrations were on the show with us, it was kind of hard because we copied our Misty from the Vibrations.
I did a great job.
One of their biggest hits. And to be on stage, and when they would do it, and to hear the crowd booing, it just irked me so much. I just couldn't believe.
Wow.
And they're on, man, give us the band, do it, man. And we would go out and they'd holler, Misty, Misty, Misty. And it was hard, but we were friends. We got to be friends with Vibrations, and it helped them sell more albums.
Yeah.
So they were happy about that.
There's a story about the Apollo where James Brown was not scheduled to be on the show, but he came out, and everybody said, well, can you do a couple of songs? And he turned and he looked at you guys, and he said, do you know any of my music? And, of course, you all looked at one another. You obviously knew his music. Do you remember that story? Do you remember how that took place?
Well, Tommy Hunt, of course, from the Flamingos, was the headliner that week. James Brown had just stopped in. He just wanted to say hi to everybody, because cats were running around. 10 days, Stevie Wonder could just pop in. It's just that way. And, we were in Wonderland. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, do you do any of our my music? So, yeah, we know the whole Live at the Apollo album. Which side would you like to do? So, you know, it was like, I can't believe he's going to do this with us. Especially the Saturday midnight show with that rough audience. This is going to be something. So, you know, to make a long story short, you know, we had a wonderful time, James and us, and the audience. I mean, it was standing ovations, it was laughter, it was applause, and it's something that, I mean, he was the king of soul on the stand.
Absolutely.
And to be able to be on stage backing him up at the Apollo, and when we would sing the backgrounds, he would really love that. He'd just turn around and look at us. The audience could pick right up on it. They'd start applauding. You know, and it turned out to be wonderful, a wonderful show. And so that's about how that went. And, you know, it happened so quick and went by so quickly. Those soul years that we were out there.
Yeah, it was short. I mean, you guys had a career from what, like 68 to maybe
I'd say
67?
65 through maybe 69.
Yeah, very short. Too short. Group was too good. You should have had a hit. You know,
Well,
I think
timing is, you know, like I said earlier, timing's everything. And by the end of the 60s, early 70s, all the soul fans were suddenly let their hair grow and were listening to, you know,
different music. You guys have really started getting some recognition. You recently were recognized by the Central Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, inducted there. I think you and Buddy have been inducted into your high school Hall of Fame. And most recently, the East Coast Music Hall of Fame has nominated you. And what makes me feel good is that your group, which I think is one of the all-time great blue-eyed soul, one of the great soul groups of that era, is finally getting the recognition you deserve, and I congratulate you for that.
I appreciate that, Glenn. I really do. And thank you so much for letting me run at the mouth.
Hey, it's history, buddy, and I love history. And I'm also going to talk to Bupp, to Puff, about his experience with
Bob.
Yeah, I will, and because I want to give you guys as much recognition for the East Coast Music Hall of Fame. I received an award for my newsletter last year. I will be there this coming June. I hope you will be there, so it'll give us a chance to meet.
All right, Glenn. Hey, man, have a good day.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I guess I'll see you on Facebook.
You got it.
All right, later on, brother.
Do you like good music? Sweet soul music. As long as it's swinging. Oh yeah. I've got to get the feeling. I've got to get the feeling. I've got to. Oh yeah. Come on and get that thing right now. Don't you know you got to get that thing right now, yeah. Got it right now. It's alright. Got yeah. It's alright. Yeah. Hey, come on, y'all. Everybody gotta sing it right now. Ooh, oh yeah. Yeah. Can you do the funky Broadway? Funky Broadway. Got to get it right now. Yeah. Ooh, it's alright. Got to get it right now. One more thing. Do you like good music?